So that's all the modifications. Should we go and find out if they actually make the Up GTI a much more satisfying car to drive? Hello guys, and welcome back to the VolksWizard channel. Now I don't know about you, but I can't believe it's already 5 years since the first Up GTIs arrived in the UK and I made my first video on one. I know they haven't been on the channel much recently, but I've still got a lot of love for this little car. Some of you may know I'm looking to buy one as a project car for the channel, but I just haven't found the right one yet. So if you've got a 3-door at a particularly tempting price, then please do get in touch. In the meantime, I thought we could take some inspiration from somebody else's completed project Up GTI. So say hello to one of the best modified Up GTIs in the UK. Before we get started, I'd like to say a big thanks to Gilks' Garage Cafe for letting us film here today. They're in the village of Kyneton, which is between Banbury and Stratford-upon-Avon, or just a few minutes from the motorway, and the food and the coffee is really, really good. Big thanks also to everybody who has subscribed to the channel. The numbers are going up really, really well, but every subscription counts. So if you haven't subscribed yet, then please do so. There should be an icon in the bottom left of your screen, or if that's not there, have a look in the description of the video for a link there. Or failing that, just hunt out that famous red button and click that. Now some of you may already recognise this car from its Instagram fame. Owner Andy posts pictures of it on there along with his Suzuki Jimny. Just like me, Andy ordered the car in early 2018 and it arrived in the summer, so it's a pre-facelift 2018 reg. Now the car is primarily set up for road use, but Andy has sprinted in it at Kerborough and he also uses it for auto solos at Goodwood. These are a timed event where you have to manoeuvre the car around a tight course as fast as possible. Unfortunately, the Up has to compete in the 2-litre class, so it doesn't win any prizes, but Andy says it's a lot of fun, and it certainly looks it. He's also looking at doing track days in it this year, and it will be interesting to see how this car performs on a big, wide open circuit, which is very far away from the standard car's natural habitat. Now before we talk about the modification, let's talk about this car's factory options, because they're very important when it comes to Up GTIs. As you can see, it's in pure white, which is the cheapest of the colours you have to pay for. It's got the black roof, it's got climate control, it's got passenger seat height adjustment, cruise and park pack, that's for me an essential thing, and it's got auto headlights, which gives you the city emergency braking pack and the passenger airbag deactivation switch. It hasn't got a sunroof because Andy didn't want the excess weight in the roof of the car, because in such a light car it does actually make a difference to the way the car handles, and he didn't want the Beat sound pack because he felt that in such a tinny car upgrading the stereo would be pretty pointless, and I have to agree. Okay guys, now hopefully the bit you've all been waiting for, the modifications. We're going to split these into 3 categories: outside, inside and under the bonnet. Now the first thing you'll probably notice is that it's sitting much lower than standard. That's because it's on an iBack Pro Street S coilover kit. It's been on the car for about 4 years and it was the first Up GTI to run this kit in the UK. Andy's always been a big fan of iBack because he finds that their springs tend to work on our broken road network. Obviously making it sit this low means he's sacrificed some of the ride comfort, but the upside of that is that it handles really, really well at speed. He's also had the car corner weighted and geo-set just to make it handle as best as it possibly could do. Not something many people really do, but he does highly recommend it. The wheels, as you can tell, are not standard. This is Andy's winter setup. So we've got Sparco Assetto Gara wheels in bronze. They are 1 inch down on standard. They're 16 by 7 inch, and he's running Michelin Alpins, proper winter tyres, rather than all seasons. So we were having a chat about this, and actually he would go for all seasons if he had to replace these today. In the summer, he's got some Oz Allegerita wheels, which are in silver, and they're the same size as standard, 17 by 17. The big difference is that they're quite a lot lighter. They're 6.5 kilograms per wheel as opposed to 11 kilograms for the standard Oswalds. That's a massive reduction in unsprung weight. He runs on those in summer, the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's in 205/40/17, which is a really highly recommended upgrade. So a little bit bigger, a little bit wider than standard, and it gives you a bit more ride comfort and protection to your wheels. At the front, we have got a big splitter. You might have noticed that. It's called the GTI In The Uk, and they're a company in Germany, and yeah, they make sort of parts like this. They're a bit like Maxton, I guess. It's pretty good. It's quite a nice ABS plastic. We've also got the Ready Set Custom black badge overlays. Andy could have had this in red, like a lot of people do, but he's gone for black. Originally that would be silver. He's done that on the back as well. And just here we have the Racing Line logo in white, which looks really cool on the black stripe, which is standard on a white GTI. Right, one last thing at the very back. Now, you don't think Andy would have forgotten to deal with the exhaust, do you? He's got a Scorpion catback exhaust system with carbon tailpipe. Scorpion actually used this car for development. Do you want to hear what it sounds like? So a few pops and bangs, that sounds really good, but there's also quite a lot happening under the bonnet, so let's go and have a look there now. As you can probably tell, it sounds a little bit different under the bonnet. That's because we've got Racing Line's cold air intake. It's made in partnership with a company called ITG, who supply the air filters for Gordon Murray's hypercar. Gordon Murray produced the McLaren F1, so that's some endorsement there. We've also got Racing Line's inlet pipe as well. We have got their remap. Stage 1 remap takes the GTI up from 113 horsepower to 148, and torque is up from 200 newton meters to 239 newton meters. I did a full video on this back in the summer. I was really impressed with this map, and I'm not impressed by every map, not at all. We've also got hidden away, we have got Powerflex's dog bone mount insert. So this fills the void in the standard bush and makes it more rigid and gives you, in theory, a better gear shift. But it does mean there's a little bit more noise and vibration, but Andy says it's well worth it because the shift is so much better. Right, let's have a look at the little mods inside. Now in here, we don't have anything particularly radical. We don't have crazy bucket seats or anything like that. Andy, he's actually perfectly happy with the GTI standard seats. And this is a guy who's done 45,000 miles in it, and some of those have been over very long journeys where they've been perfectly comfortable. He's also thrown the car around on track, as you've already seen, and he finds them sufficiently supportive. But he has changed a couple of the contact areas, which are the things that are actually most important in an interior. So he's upgraded the handbrake pull, which I'm not actually sure if he uses that on the road or on the track. But yeah, we've got one from a Skoda Citigo Monte Carlo. So it looks like real leather, and it's got red stitching which perfectly matches the stitching on the seat and on the floor mats. And it's not really a contact area, but he's also got the Skoda Citigo Monte Carlo gear shifter gaiter, which again has got red stitching, though I'm not actually sure that is leather, but it's still much better than the standard one. The pièce de résistance is the sportshifters.com gear knob. So this is aluminium from top to bottom. It's got a leather rim around there, and it's got the gear shift gates marked in black with a red R. It reminds me of one, I think, from the Mark III Golf GTI anniversary, and you can apparently choose the weighting as well. So this is the medium weighting, but the weighting affects how easily it slots into gear. He's also changed another contact area, which I think everybody pretty much does. He's swapped the normal black pedals for the stainless steel ones from probably Audi S1 or even Audi TT, and they look really good. It's funny that a GTI actually came without those, but I guess they were quite limited in budget. So that's all the modifications. Should we go and find out if they actually make the GTI a much more satisfying car to drive? Okay, I thought I'd start this bit of the video by starting the engine, because when you uprate engine mounts and dog bone mounts, you really feel it when you start the car up. And there's a little bit more of a tremor through, actually mainly the clutch pedal, which you have to press down to start the car up. There's a bit more vibrations through the trim as well, and that's because we've got the upgraded dog bone mount. Well, we've got an insert put into it. Apparently you can cut the insert, which means there's more of a void left in the mount, and that will then reduces the amount of stiffness, and you can tune it basically how you want it to be. This is on full stiffness, and I'd say maybe I'd sort of try and reduce it a little bit, but apparently the benefits are all in the gear shift. So yeah, it feels nice. Feels that little bit more precise. The shifter is gorgeous. The standard plastic thing is a bit cheap and nasty, and this, it feels good, and with the sort of slightly higher weighting to it, it feels superb. I could do with a little bit of a smaller, shorter shift to it maybe, but yeah, it's pretty good. We've got a bit more urgency as well with the racing line map, but I've never really had a problem with the engine. I've always found it powerful enough, quite frankly. And the exhaust, actually, there's a bit more popping and banging, but it's not boomy like one that I drove a few years ago, which didn't have enough silencers in it. Anyway, the biggest letdown for me was the chassis. We were on the perfect road for a small, punchy car like this, so let's see how it feels. I wouldn't really feel confident in the standard car because you just don't know when it's going to break away, but this feels really communicative. That was lovely. There's a little bit of overspeeding of the wheels, I could feel that, and yeah, this is the tricky corner, second gear. Yeah, and those winter tyres, even though it's a little bit too warm for them at 11 degrees, feel pretty keyed in. I mean, the conditions couldn't be really much worse, to be honest. The roads are slippery with a sheen of sort of mud and rain. So that was pretty impressive. I think on that road you would have a lot of fun in this car, but this is more your typical British B road. You can probably hear we've got a bit more whooshing and gushing from under the bonnet. Whether that'll become tiring, I don't know. I'm surprised it's actually that loud, but if you like it, there you go, that's part of the intake. Like I said, the brakes are completely standard and they're perfectly fine for the road. I've had discussions with loads of people about upgrading the rear brakes. All you're going to do is get too much brake bias to the rear of the car, and that's going to make it very, very unstable. So I know they look great when you've got discs, but really for this car, for driving on road or on the track, you just really want to leave it as it is. It's definitely a little bit firmer, but my problem with the standard car was that it was firm, but it also wasn't that great in the corners. It was okay, but there's always a feeling that there was quite a bit of budget constraints on the hardware because it was a cheap car. And the reason I want one as a project car is that I know that if I just adjust a few little bits and pieces like dampers and bushes, I can get a car that actually capitalizes on the foundations of this car, which are really good. It's so small and light. If it was just that little bit more precise, and I think that's what we've got here today. So yeah, it's not, it was bobbing around a lot then, but only a little bit more than standard, and it just feels a lot more sophisticated. There's a level crossing now which might make a standard car crash and bang. No, lovely, beautiful, beautiful, high quality damping there from the IBAC coilover kit. This corner, nice, really nice. I've got a lot more confidence in this car because it just gives you a lot more feedback than the standard car. I've nearly written off a couple of standard cars just because they suddenly just go into understeer, partly to do with the tyres, but then we're only on winter tyres today. We're not exactly on high performance summer tyres. So yeah, this is really impressive. And actually, I'm going over the cat size now, and it's firm, but I don't mind having firmness if it doesn't come with the crashiness of the standard car. So that, guys, is really impressive. I want one even more now. So if you've got one to sell, a 3-door at the right price, and you want to sell it to me, you want to see it on the channel as a project car, then get in touch. As ever, guys, thanks for watching this Volkswizard video. Keep subscribing, keep commenting, and I'll see you for the next one very soon. Might even be on the acquisition of my new project up GTI. You never know.